Well, hi, I'm Dr. Hilary Harris, and it is my privilege to be the moderator of this panel. The panel is The Making of an Online Professor. And for the last 10 years or a little bit more, I've been a professor and chair of the first year experience student success course at Lone Star College. Prior to that, though, I was an English professor, and I provide that little bit of personal history to give me a little street cred to say, I want to unpack our title. It is the making of an online professor, not the making of the online professor. And the reason for that is that we don't know of a single or singular path to become an online professor or to be an online professor. Rather, what you will find in our conversation is that we are a radically diverse group of folks. So in this panel, I am joined by 5 of my favorite people. Oh my heavens, my phone just went off. It's real. My phone just went off. But I'm joined by some of my favorite people, my colleagues, and we all do come from really different positions in our personal lives, our professional lives. But we're joined together in this one kind of singular fact, and that is that we all chose to be founding faculty members of Lone Star College's newest and 8th college, which is Lone Star College Online. So in this panel, what you can expect is to have each one of us spend about 5 minutes sharing some experience. And then we will have lots of time for Q&A, or what we really simply hope is a kind of authentic and organic and informal conversation amongst all of us. But to give you a little bit of a frame, what you can expect to hear here, I think, are 2 kind of basic highlights or 2 basic topics. One are some just really practical tips. And I'm going to tell you, these are tips you already know. They are simply effective pedagogy. And we are, in fact, bringing them forward from the brick and mortar environment. They're tips about student engagement and building community and the importance of feedback. But what you're going to see here is that while they have always been effective pedagogical tips, in the online environment, we believe they move from very important or significant to critically essential. And the other highlight or topic you're going to hear, sometimes explicit, sometimes more implicit, is really one of mindset. And maybe that's what most informs this particular panel. And it is the mindset of this. Nobody on this panel is heedless of the larger political, social, cultural, economic implications of the various disruptive technologies in which we all find ourselves. We are indeed quite mindful of all of that and the impact on higher ed, and in fact, the role higher ed is playing in all of those things. But what we have chosen as founding faculty members of an online college is to approach these technologies. Yes, the technologies of obvious engagement. Yes, the technologies like AI, where there are a lot of challenges facing all of us. But we have chosen to approach all of this in a spirit of curiosity and exploration. We have chosen to stage our particular professional lives on this terrain because it is, after all, the terrain upon which our students' lives will be staged. And in fact, the future is already being staged. So we understand, like when we bring forward these effective pedagogical strategies from brick and mortar, we understand that we literally are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors who had their own difficult border crossings, their own terrifying frontiers to advance toward. So we advance our spirit of exploration on this topic with enormous, enormous humility and hope that you find this conversation useful. And with that, let's get on with our first panelist. Dr. Datta, are you our first panelist? I've lost track.
Name is at the top.
Is that right? Okay, we're going in alphabetical order. Sir, would you take over?
Yeah, I will. Thank you, Hilary, for the introduction for our group and for starting off the session. I am Amlan Datta. I teach economics at Lone Star College. I do teach 1 or 2 business courses also. I've been teaching for Lone Star College system for about 10 years. Earlier, I had taught at a different college, so about my academia background is about 24 years now, teaching part-time, full-time. And I had worked earlier to that in the business world for about 21 years. So I try to bring my business experiences, both from an economic and a business perspective, to my classes, and so that students get to know what the real world outside the classroom looks like. So that's That's it. And the things I'm going to talk about very briefly is that some experiments I have done and I keep doing to improve student learning, make them more successful. That's my sole objective. So, all my experience, my background hopefully helps me in creating that environment where our students become more successful. I think I'll hand it over to Leslie, who's the next one in line after Hilary. Oh, Hilary, you want to go? I think you didn't introduce yourself, so you can do that. And then we can go to Leslie.
Oh, I feel as though I've introduced myself. Let's
Okay.
go ahead. Yeah.
Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie LaPres, and I have been at Lone Star for about 23 years. I teach psychology at Online. I'm also an adjunct supervisor, and I'm just happy to be here. And I love seeing all the names in the chat and the participants that I recognize. So thank you all for being here. And now, Tim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Tim Mousel. I've been teaching in higher education for 31 years. I am in the kinesiology department, and my message today is going to be one of embracing technology and embracing change in education. So we'll get to that later. So Asitha.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I'm Asitha Silva here. What I teach is biology and microbiology, anatomy and physiology. I have been with Lone Star for 5 years now. Before joining Lone Star, I was full-time faculty at another college. My background is biomedical sciences, and I come from research background. For when I'm thinking about the online teaching, as a biology professor, I'm trying to think that barrier of thinking that these science subjects are difficult in face-to-face environment itself, and how can we make it a good experience for students in an online environment. So we have inherent barriers of how to conduct labs in an online environment. So with years of continuously improving little by little, I think we are in a better place than we started. So I'd like to share some of that, how to keep the students' interest in the course and how to pique their enthusiasm in terms of participation. So I'd like to talk about that. Thank you.
Tim, I think we can move on to our first presentation. And Asitha, that's you.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Today, Jennifer was supposed to start the presentation with the instructor presence in your course. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but I think we can, even though there are different topics, they are kind of overlapping. So my topic is today about student engagement. I know this is a very broader topic, but when I think about my biology courses, how to increase the student engagement, because it's mainly the participation of students, their emotional and behavioral engagement to the class is a major part in their students' success and what they get out from the course. So I'd like to think about in the 3 different areas. There may be other areas, but I'd like to prioritize how the content is organized in my class, so that students are feeling attracted to the resources that I'm providing and the quality of the PowerPoint presentations and lecture videos that I'm providing, because that's the key with content, how much time they're going to spend on the content and how easily the content is navigatable by the students, having a logical pattern of, because we have to think about students' perspective. Sometimes we try to do the best, but forgetting that part of like how the students see the course and how the knowledge should be built up from the foundation level and building up step by step is something that I learned along the way when I started looking at from the students' perspective. So being able to hear from students' feedback on the content that you provide is something sometimes you, in your best interest, to give them the highest quality content, but it's also good to get that feedback in an online environment. From face-to-face classes, you can see from their face if a particular concept is not that clear to them from that interaction that you do in the face-to-face. So if we are not cognitive about getting feedback from students about your content in an online environment, I think I am missing something that I can improve. So I make sure that aspect to get their feedback and provide active learning strategies, right? This is something that we miss from face-to-face environment. I can give many examples, but one particular one is teaching cellular respiration, which is a complex topic. Students often struggle in that area because there are so much chemical reactions, like 30 some chemical reactions happening sequentially. And if you just gave them that 30 reactions and go figure out, students lose the interest and they immediately detach from your content. So trying to think about actively engaging strategies like giving a board game that can easily simplify those 30 reactions into categories. So I provide them a board game where they follow how glucose is broken down in step by step, and ATP is produced at each step. And whenever the ATP is produced in a chemical reaction, they use small pennies to track down how many ATP is being made is one glucose. So in subject discipline specific talk, we can go through like how much active learning strategies that we can improvise. But since this is a multidisciplinary audience, I'm not going to go into specific details of how biology active learning strategies, but something to be cognitive about from the instructor side. How can we engage them with our content?
And Asitha, I'm going to let everybody know you have a little more than a minute left as you talk about this kind of recentering the instructor into this online learning community. Thank you. So about another minute.
So the behavioral aspect of engagement is, for me, mainly providing that sense of community in your class that we miss from a face-to-face class, right? So providing a discussion board or group me, allowing group me kind of apps for students to express themselves and voice their concerns and ask a question freely without any judgment. Because the feeling of community, you are a part of a community that trying to be successful in this course. And when you see that aspect, others are also struggling. It's not only me that can push. I know as a student, I get that benefit from being with other students, and also group assignments. We can easily do that in face-to-face classes, but at least trying to include the group assignments in online class has helped me to engage the students as a group. For example, group writing assignments. They have to meet up in Zoom and discuss the points. And not only that, giving them teamwork, member assessment. So not only I am assessing them, as by working with a group, team members can assess the other class, their own peers. So that is an encouragement for them to participate in group aspects, because after our courses, they go on to the workforce where the group teamwork is the main part of their daily job. So putting them in that place in your class and giving them that power to build the teamwork skills is very important also. And
Thank you. It's Asitha, can you give us a brief overview of the instructor to student, and then we will bring
yes,
some
I'll
other
be very
voices in.
brief.
Thank you.
Yes, I think this is something that we all inherently better, because we know that students need to hear from us. So in terms of multiple methods, and you have to establish what method works for you, and then the students can see the pattern of announcements. Am I giving weekly announcements or daily announcements? Then students know how to communicate, and keeping that more casual, and students feel free to reach out to you in your virtual office hours is something that I like to continue. We have so many other methods, so due to the time limitation, I'm going to stop right here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asitha. That reminder of just the creating patterns that the students can follow. Am I right, Leslie? Are you next? Are you taking?
I think my name popped up, I think.
Oh, okay, fabulous. Amlan, would you start us next?
Yeah, so thank you, Asitha, for your insights. I would like to just start off with one of my favorite quotes from Benjamin Franklin, which says, you can see it on the screen, that tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. That's the last part of that quote, which was sort of the founding approach of how I did stuff in the classroom. I'm not saying that I did it the first day I landed in the classroom. It took me years and years of practice, and I have been improving this over the years, and getting to where I would like to be. So one of the big things, and the thing, if you see in the title of the slide, it says encouraging student engagement and collaboration. My focus was on collaboration. I wanted our students to learn hands-on, okay? And I had discussion boards. I re-looked at them and turned them into something that will reflect what I'm trying to get them to do, to collaborate. So it's a collaborative learning space that I created where they actually interact, learn from each other. They get involved in the learning process and take ownership of their learning. And what they do is that they check their own learning, they check with their peers, they correct themselves. So it's something that they have to be involved. If they are not involved, they are not successful. So I get into that frame of mind. I give them enough information and of how to process that. And the reason why I do that, I think if we go to the next slide, why collaborate? Okay, and this is coming from my background experience in the industry. When our students go into the job market, almost every job will require some form of collaboration with their colleagues. Okay, if they want to be successful, they need to learn the art and the skills of collaboration. I did this in my face-to-face class earlier, and I was trying to bring that into my online classes in a similar way. If they are hesitant, if they're shy, they have to try it out. And the advantage I saw in the classrooms when I used to teach, and I've seen this in the online environment also, as the course progresses, they can fine-tune their collaborative skills. Okay, they don't have to be great immediately. They can try it out, not do it very well, try it out again. And the fun part of this is in this academic world, they can do these experiments, they can do these trials without a severe risk. Because in the real world, in the job market, if you fail, if you don't get your objectives done, it can lead to not so pleasant consequences. It could lead to even getting fired. Here, it's a learning process. You don't have to be successful the first time. You can acquire that skill, and from acquiring that, hopefully they can carry it over to the job market when they land up a job. So they have to be successful in their collaboration approach, a collaborative approach. That's what I'm trying to imbibe in them so that when they go to the real world in the job market, they are at least a little prepared rather than jumping in and not knowing what to do. Okay, next slide. So what is a collaborative learning space assignment? They respond to some given prompts. They provide the responses, look at the postings of their classmates. They try to understand the concepts, they study in the chapter, and they collaborate in the learning process in the form that they correct each other, they correct themselves, okay? They may not, and I've seen this happen, it builds up from the first one, first collaborative learning space assignment. There's a little hesitation, they're sort of getting into it, getting their feet wet. And as they go, it becomes so interesting how they get involved. And the feedback from after semesters that I have got, that they learned tremendously. They said, like, this was such a fun way of learning that from each other. And sometimes they can get a little nasty, and I normally try not to step in, but if it is going out of hand, I try to bring it back to the academic side. So, but it's an experience that they need to understand, feel, and then carry over to the job market when they are there. So it's again a hands-on approach, like Benjamin Franklin mentioned, that if you involve them, I'm involving them in the learning process rather than I'm telling them. So I am more of a focused person on the learning part rather than teaching and learning. I used to teach a lot, and I thought I was great because I was the guru, I was the sage on stage, but I was never satisfied. And this is something I saw in my face-to-face classes, that how that the lights coming on in the eyes when they started working with themselves. So that's something I have not perfected on the online environment, but I'm in the process of improving it every time, every semester, and getting my feedback from my students, what's working, what's not working. And I constantly modify, even sometimes during the semester, some of the later assignments, I modify them so that it makes more sense to them in the learning process so they can collaborate better. And I do get questions because a lot of students are not used to this, but they latch on pretty quickly after the first one, and I give them enough relevant feedback that what worked, what did not work, how can you improve, and that helps them improve their the participation collaboration process. So that's
Amlan.
how I approach. Yeah, sorry, Hilary.
Thank you. Thank you. No,
I'm over my time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We're over. But thank you for that. On the collaborative learning space, to really bring that into the online environment is a skill set. And we'll be coming back to you in the questions and answers, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Leslie, let's bring you in.
Absolutely.
I know you have a lot to say as well.
I'm going to try and be brief, but I think that it's wonderful that I actually did follow the collaborative learning, because I look a lot at feedback as being collaborative. So first of all, why is feedback important? Because, and you guys are going to see me look down at notes. I'm a notes girl. I take notes, and I've got notes. I'm going to try and be brief for y'all.
I got notes. Do it.
I've got notes. I'm always a student, right? So anyhow, why is it important? It creates a community. It is hopefully not going to be one directional. The communication should be one that is a conversation, hopefully, with the instructor and the students. And all of what I'm sharing today is something that are things that I have either gleaned from experience or found in research, maybe even gotten from everyday life or even vacations, which I'll get to that in just a minute. But also with feedback, we want to establish our presence. I think just being present in an online class is so important. And when we're looking at ways to do that, feedback is a tremendous opportunity in which to be present with our students and to allow them to know that we see them, because that's that time that we can go one-on-one with them. And it may be feedback about a paper that they turned in or some other assignment, or it might just be feedback about how they're doing in the course. But just taking that time out for those who are struggling or those who are doing exceptionally well and giving them feedback. And maybe that's through use of IntelliAgents or something like that, but just letting them know that we see them, that feedback is seen as even more important by students in the online. Oops, I don't know. Hopefully it's still going. Anyway, my screen just said that the signal was interrupted, but hopefully you can still hear and see me.
We did.
Students, awesome. But students in that online environment, they are looking for that connection for their instructor, that geographical distance that we have with the online student makes them even more receptive and hungry for our feedback. And so it's just very important, but also how do we give feedback? What makes for important feedback? And some of this stuff, like Hilary had said previously, these are things that we've been told, we know, and we've seen, but let's just talk just briefly on how do we do it. One, it's important that feedback is timely, that feedback needs to be given in a time span where students are still focused on and are thinking of that assignment. If it is too far away of time since the assignment was submitted, maybe they're already having to submit a like assignment, like a discussion, and they really don't even know if that assignment was done correctly or not. So we want to get them before they're submitting a like assignment. Also, the frequency is important. You want it to be very routine. You want it to be expected. I have it set in my calendar to give them feedback by Wednesday at 11:59, so they know what to expect. And one way to do this, practically speaking, is to stagger your deadlines. Don't have all of your section deadlines all on Sunday night or Monday night. Try to stagger those. Oh no, the sound is going out. Well, hopefully you guys are getting some of this. Also, make sure that your feedback is very specific. Make sure it's actionable. Make sure it is applicable, something that they can apply. And also that it's balanced. You want to make sure and marry the positive with the negative or what they need to improve upon. And we can actually look at neuroscience for this. We can look at neuroscience because neuroscience tells us it's not freezing on my end. I see Hilary just fine. I'm sorry if I'm having an internet issue. A matter of fact, Hilary, do you want to come back to me to finish up and maybe go to Tim and I can try and restart my internet? And
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you want us to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. Online is all about constantly dealing with the actual tech in front of you, isn't it? I appreciate that. Okay, Tim, would you please join this conversation? I know you have some really specific things to talk about.
Yeah, so mine deals with embracing technology, and generative AI is a very disruptive force right now, and not just education, but in the world. And I do understand there's a lot of people that are concerned about it, fearful of it, hate it, don't want to use it. But the fact is, it's here. Our students are using it. And if we don't embrace it as faculty, I believe it's going to create huge problems for our students' futures as well as our futures as educators. So I think this is a fantastic opportunity to create new assignments, new course approaches. And one of many approaches that I'm going to focus on in my 5 minutes is to talk about chatbots. So chatbots are just simply software applications that enable a conversation to take place with a document, for example, or an ebook or a curriculum. And the students can ask questions about it and have a conversation. And it results in a very engaging learning experience. Some advantages, they can learn at their own pace. It's 24/7. B.F. Skinner's teaching machine, he theorized that if you could create a machine that gives instant feedback, learning would be improved. Well, we have that now with chatbots. And the great thing is it doesn't require any coding knowledge to create a basic chatbot. So some applications for education, this is a short list. Syllabus interaction. For example, if your syllabus is online like mine is, you could embed a chatbot into the syllabus. My screen is not working right. But anyway, you can embed it into the syllabus so that a student can go on there and they can say, tell me about my course. Explain this assignment to me. How do I get a good grade on this assignment? When is my final exam due? And the chatbot will answer them, because if you feed your syllabus into the chatbot, it enables the student to have that conversation with the chatbot. Another example of an assignment would be a conversational debate. So as a sample, I programmed a chatbot to welcome and greet the student for a history class. It says, would you like me to take the role of a Confederate soldier, Union soldier, Confederate politician, or Union politician? The student chooses which they want the chatbot to be. They take another role and they have a conversation. Explain why you felt the Battle of Gettysburg was important. What were the outcomes of that? And you can ask all types of questions. And when I do that assignment, I find it to be extremely engaging. And I'm not a history person, I'm in kinesiology, but I got sucked into it because it was so interesting hearing about it from a soldier or from a politician in a conversational manner. Policy generation for administrators. You can upload all the documents of faculty handbook, faculty manuals, student manuals, and you can create new policies based on that just by having a conversation with the chatbot. Personalized tutoring is fantastic, assignment help, and here's my list of things. And really the great idea or the benefit is you just get in there and you create one and you play with it. How do you create one? Well, good news is I created a gift for all of our viewers. If you scan that QR code, that is a video tutorial that will take you step by step through creating your own chatbot that you could use with your courses. Any subject, any topic, and really the limit to using this is your creativity. Really try to look at, what do I want to achieve with my assignment? What do I want to achieve in my course? And create a chatbot to achieve that. And your students will appreciate, because they know their future is going to be using generative AI tools. There's survey after survey showing that their job security and their job futures in many cases is dependent upon the use of using generative AI. So they need to start learning and start practicing now. And it gives your course an exciting new tool that they can use and learn from. And the tool that I do recommend is Poe. And the reason I recommend that is that it's free to create a chatbot and it's free to use the chatbot. So if you have questions about that, at the end of this slide, you'll see I have a LinkedIn. If you want to send me any questions that you have or any great case usage you're doing, I would love to hear from you.
Tim,
So,
not everyone is able to
pass
see the slides, and they've asked for you to place that link in the chat, if you don't mind doing that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Tim, as always, brings us such important innovations to bring forward. Leslie, we have a few minutes. I want to leave some time for Q&A. Can we come back to you for a minute or so?
I just want to, yes, thank you so much. And I do apologize for the technology issue. I do think it's probably on my end. Anyway, I did want to just say really quickly is that, and I don't mind sending out, some notes or things like that, since you guys couldn't see the slides, but it's so important to recognize what students did correctly, not just what they need to improve upon. One of the things that we have learned from neuroscience is that when we receive negative feedback, about something, especially that we've worked really hard on, two things happen. One, we become very defensive and cortisol is released. When cortisol is released, that's going to temporarily impair memory and learning. So will our feedback even be received if students are in a state of being defensive? So it's really important to start with something that they did well in the when you're giving students feedback. Another thing that happens if we start just with negative feedback is that we can see actually that neurologists have shown many, many times that in actual brain scans, that frontal lobe, that executive order part of the brain starts to darken just temporarily. So what happens there is maybe that is why they're shooting off very fiery emails about our negative comments, because honestly, that frontal lobe isn't processing like it should in that moment. And so really ways that we can help the students to understand our feedback is to make sure that we are detailed in our feedback, to make sure not only do we say the positive or good job, but to say something that's very direct and to make sure that we're using the type of language that can't be accidentally misconstrued. So be real careful with things like cliches or any kind of comment that has any kind of gender assumption assigned to it, because it can be something that might be offensive to others. So we just want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to present the feedback in a way that the student is going to not only appreciate, but they can use and learn from it. Also use the recording tools in D2L. It saves a tremendous amount of time. One of the things I like to do is do screen capture. So I'll go through their assignment and I'll be talking the whole time, and I'll focus on just one or two things that are aligned with the SLO within the assignment that I really want them to get from my feedback. Because honestly, you guys, there's just no way that we can hit on everything that students did well and need to improve upon in one assignment. And they won't be able to retain that information. None of us can. So just one or two things that are aligned with SLO that you want to see them do better next time, and then to utilize those tools. And honestly, AI may be a way to really help us save time, because students can use AI, put in the rough draft, and of course their instructions, and then be able to turn in even better assignments. Tim was just telling me about that yesterday. And like I said, I get all of this from all different aspects. And one thing I do for my students is I take a quote from Walt Disney, where he would always tell his Imagineers, no matter how well of a job they did, he always did great, plus it. I am always asking my students, how do we plus it? And I explain to them why I'm doing that, because we can all exceed our own expectations. And so I want to be a motivator for them, but I want to be in a way that is constructive. So thank you guys. And again, sorry for the technical issues.
Thank you so much, Leslie, and for also bringing up that sometimes overlooked aspect of online pedagogy, which is culturally competent teaching. We have to be involved. The tenor of the comments, the tone of the comments is so important. You have to really watch. You have to put your feedback through a kind of screening, your own filter, to make sure you're trying to engage in some culturally competent teaching at that level also. So, hey, we do have time. We have until 11:35. If anybody would like to ask questions, or if we want to come back to any topic here. Elena, are you seeing anything I need to look at?
No, I'm seeing that most of the Q&A has been answered already by the panelists. So if anyone has a question, please drop it over in the Q&A section down at the bottom, so that your panelists can see that.
Tim, well, we have a moment, because I know the QR code there sent us out to a, okay, we've got a chat box going, a question. Also, do you actually have a YouTube channel that you could direct people to, or is that a kind of one-off video? A couple of questions there.
If that's directed at me, I do have a YouTube channel, and that video is actually posted on that.
Yes.
So if you do follow that
There-
link or follow the QR code, it'll take it to my YouTube channel.
Okay. And I'm saying, do you all use emojis? Do you use emojis in communication? I think we could also fold into that. Do you use the intelligent agents in D2L? Anybody want to pick that up?
I will. I use emojis. I use Bitmoji. A lot of times in my announcements, I might start with a Bitmoji, and honestly, it's to grab the attention, because I do use announcements as another vehicle to provide them with feedback. So
Right.
I do. Sure.
Yeah, totally. Announcements are such a part of the communication plan, aren't they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? So seeing here, would somebody explain what a Bitmoji is, please? Leslie, since you were on that, would you mind going back? What is it?
Not a problem. It's basically an avatar that you create through, I think it's just bitmoji.com, and you can change its clothes and it can do different things. And so if you want to say hello or whatnot to your students, you have your little avatar that maybe looks like you, or, the best, probably for me, it was even a better version of my avatar was. So it's just kind of fun. It's something that students gravitate toward, and it just grabs their attention. It's just a little character that looks like you that you can copy and paste and put on, D2L. It's just fun.
Amlan or Tim, do you use Bitmojis?
I do not. I do see a question in the chat about chatbots. If I can take that.
Yeah, please address that.
And the question was basically how to use that as an assignment. So after a student has a conversation with a chatbot, they can save that conversation as a PDF or as a Word document. Then a further assignment could be to have them write an analysis paper and say, what did I learn from this assignment? What did I find interesting? What ideas did I get from this? Just kind of a reflective paper that they could write if you want to do focus on writing. Or whatever your approach is, you could have a follow-up based on that conversation. But that chat is something that they can turn in as part of their assignment.
Okay. We have a question here for Asitha. Are you still with us? I'm not seeing him.
Yeah, he's
Also,
there. He's there.
I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Are you seeing this question for you on suggesting some steps you could take in imparting critical skills in the microbiology course, especially if we are not doing hands-on lab? And we only have 2 minutes, so.
So
Panel.
thank you for that question. That's a question that I also struggle with, and I talk to my colleagues. And what I find interesting is involving case studies. So when a question or the SLO is tied into a case study, I have seen more participation. I mean, because students like to read that specific situation. This is also a helpful tool for like that creating an inclusive environment in your class, getting real case studies from different parts of the world that related to a particular disease that you want to discuss about, and allowing the students to tackle the case study as they would in their future pathologist standpoint, right? When we put students in their future role, they get that excitement to participate. So I think the case studies I have to go with case studies as the main answer for that. I'm pretty sure there are other aspects as well. So for specific case studies, I go to my publisher for that help, McGraw-Hill, for finding specific content.
Perfect. We are really
right.
just at the end of our time. Leslie, did you have one more thing to add?
no.
Oh, okay.
I'm good, thank you.
And
Can I just add
Alright.
one? You asked a
going
question,
to-
Hilary.
I'm sorry.
Amlan, do you use emojis? No, I don't. But I just got an idea. Just
Okay.
from this session. I can try that out.
okay. Fantastic. Yes. Who is saying my
Alright. I was
Oh,
just trying
okay.
to help everyone close up. I'm sorry, but we are out of time for this session.